So it wasn't the best start to the new season of Diablo. But things soon picked up, which meant it was time for the much anticipated Season of Blood. Now I say much anticipated because the original game's launch and Season 1 were pretty underwhelming to say the least. So how is Season 2 faring up, and more importantly, is the game now fixed? Well, there is good news and there is bad news. But I'm very pleased to say that the good news outweighs the bad. And although we're not quite there yet, this is definitely a step in the right direction. So let's start with the positives and the theme of the new season. The Blood Harvest, which is a new event, is fantastic and is almost certainly my favourite thing about the new season. It moves to a new area of the map on the hour every hour, which means it's constantly available. Each time it moves, there are always 3 new Tree of the Whisper quests, which is great news because the XP, gold and rewards from handing those in have been significantly buffed. So too has the mob density, especially within the harvest. You can chain groups of mobs together and never be out of combat. The mobs inside the harvest drop blood lures. Lures? Laws. Blood laws. Laws. Lures. They drop blood things which come in pretty thick and fast and can be used to activate an event. There's an area marked on the map where you'll find 3 blood pedestals. Each pedestal requires 50 blood things, so 150 in total. There are usually plenty of other players around, so the event is activated regularly. A bunch of mobs spawn which need to be killed, followed by 3 tougher mobs. These tougher mobs drop quite a lot of loot and a decent amount of XP, but for me, the value in these events are that they are just fun to do. I pretty much leveled all the way to the capstone requirements just grinding blood harvests. One decision that Blizzard got absolutely spot on about the event is that the blood and keys you pick up stay in your inventory. So there's no starting from scratch each time it moves, and if you log off, they're still in your inventory when you log back on. The keys I'm referring to are these, which can be used to open the chests that spawn throughout the zone. The chests can contain some nice gear, but I found them to be most useful for dropping these packed consumables. Pacts are what you need in order to meet the gear requirements of your new vampire powers. In order to have all powers active, your gear must have the correct number of ferocity, eternity and divinity pacts, which you can see here. The consumables that drop allow you to either reset the pacts on a piece of gear entirely, or add the ones that you need one by one. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's not what I would consider a chore. Pure blood is another thing you can collect in Season 2, which is also plentiful. This is used to upgrade your vampire powers, although it is a little bit of an annoying mechanic. You spend 25 blood and it offers you 3 random powers to upgrade, meaning that you can't just blast through your equipped powers straight away. And lastly, there is the Hunter's Acclaim board, which rewards you with free gear as you kill mobs during the blood harvest. This is something that you definitely want to do, as there are a couple of vampire powers that can only be unlocked through the board's progression. So a thumbs up as far as the new content goes, but what about the rest of the game? Well, the general gameplay feels better and faster, largely because Blizzard has fixed mounts. This is how it should have been from the start. The cooldown is shorter, the speed of the mount is faster, and now it very much feels like you're able to mount up, storm your way into combat, fly off your horse, smash yourself into a group of mobs, and then take back off again. The general mob density is better. I no longer feel like I'm wasting my time in zones looking for stuff to kill. The XP gains are also much better. I got to level 54 in just a couple of evenings, which would have simply been impossible before this patch. There's less emphasis on just grinding nightmare dungeons. you now have more of a choice on how to level without feeling punished that your choice was detrimental to your leveling speed. You still need to do dungeons because that's how you level your glyphs, but having that choice is a big deal. On the subject of dungeons, the amount of chain CC is significantly less, and so too is the amount of needless running around. It's not all gone, of course, but it is indeed an improvement. A couple of other quality of life changes worth mentioning are that you no longer need to grind Renown. You get all the important unlocks, skill points, obols, paragon points and potions right at the start, assuming that you'd already completed those requirements before the season launched. There is still some bonus XP and bonus gold to be claimed for those that wish to redo the Renown, but it's entirely optional. The towns dotted around the map are much more useful. The blacksmith, stash and oculist are all much closer together, which again means less wasted time running around. And lastly, there is the gem rework. You now pick up gem fragments instead of actual gems, which don't take up your inventory space. The better quality gems use more fragments to craft, and there is a nice salvage all option to get the fragments back if you need. These are all only small changes, but they make the game, without doubt, noticeably better. Okay, so I'm sure you'll all agree that that is a decent number of positives. And as I said in my introduction, the positives outweigh the negatives, but there are still some negatives. The first one being the most significant, and that is gearing. It's still bloody awful. The amount of time you have to spend checking gear that drops is utterly draining. It completely sucks the enjoyment out of all the fun you had getting the gear in the first place. Yes, you can sort by item level, which does help a little bit, but why isn't there a filter still? The need to keep checking yellows in case they have the potential to be great legendaries just isn't a good system, and it needs a rework. The same goes for the Paragon board. There is still no reset all button. I've loved playing my druid so far this season, but I know I'll likely just stick with one build because changing specs is still such a massive hassle. And why are we still blind to what's available to us when enchanting an item? Now, I imagine that the reason why the gearing is still so terrible and why there's still no crafting in the game is because these are such large fundamental components and probably not very easy to fix. It seems to me like Blizzard have gone for a few quick easy wins, added some content and then stuck on a nice shiny seasons badge. And you know, I think that's okay. I think that's okay because I believe that Blizzard are still going to fix these fundamental issues with gearing. And gearing is a fundamental part of Diablo. However, the biggest fundamental of any game is how much fun it is to play. Up until now, it just hasn't been an enjoyable game for me. I even nearly fell asleep with the controller in my hand the last time I played. So I stopped. However, much to my surprise, this new season, the Season of Blood, hasn't been anything like that at all. It's been fun to play, and I've genuinely looked forward to getting home from work and smashing my way through a bunch of mobs as a big bear. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's way better than what it was before, and as a filthy casual, it feels a lot more accessible. I can actually see myself, for the first time, reaching level 100 without it feeling like a massive chore. I can log in at night once the kids are in bed, blast for an hour and actually feel good about it, and that hasn't happened in Diablo 4 up until now. So there you have it, it's a big win for Season 2 as far as I'm concerned, and certainly a step in the right direction. Who knows, maybe I will change my mind a little bit as I get to the end game, but for now, I think Diablo 4 is in a good place. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you enjoying it too? Do you think that it's managed to repair some of its reputational damage? And what do you think Blizzard should be focusing on next? As always, thank you for watching, and a special thanks for anybody that's commented, liked or subscribed. Means a lot.